So it's pretty dimly lit in here. We have a little bit of ambient light, but we're gonna try to light me and my subject Frank here using just flashlights with the 3-point lighting technique. So first I'm gonna turn on our key light. Now our fill. And now our backlight. Okay. So, as you can see, with just 3 simple household flashlights I got for about $15 a piece, we've created a nice lit subject here that looks fairly professional given the kind of lights we're using. Flashlights work great, especially if you have like a 50mm lens on your HD SLR. They're perfect. So let's dive into the kind of flashlights I used and the rigs I used to set them up on their light stand, and certain gels and bulbs I used as well. So let's get into that. So we have our key light here. Now it's on a stand, so let me bring it down a little bit. Alright, so this is a Cobalt flashlight here. Like I said, $15-$20 at Lowe's. And it's a great light. That's the first power. A little dimmer option. Kind of a nice floodlight. And a strobe light. So this light I use for everything. It's great. And I have it rigged up to my stand here, which I also have on a little mini ball head mount that's then connected to a super clamp. And I get a lot of control with it. It also has a little swivel head on it too. So I also put, as you can see here, an orange gel here to get the color temperature just right. These super clamps are great. I use them for everything. And then there we go. Now I'm using just a cooking sheet here for some diffusion. I'm using a little nano clamp here. This is an imitation nano clamp that I got for probably $10 on Amazon, and it attaches really easily here. It even comes with a snake extension, so you can wrap it around things and bend it. And I don't really have any uses for that, but it's still nice to have. It's a good option. But this thing right here is just really sweet. Once the battery's low, and this thing can go for like 6 hours, you pop it up and plug it in. And when it's done, the light right here will turn green, and I use it for tons of stuff. Like if I'm shooting an insert shot of me plugging in something, I'll usually maybe run this in the back and hit my hand or the plug or the cord or whatever the subject is from behind, and that gives it a nice, beautiful, nice little rim light to it. Now let's look at our backlight here. Bring the C-stand down. Loosen up here. I used a koozie and I made a little snoot out of it. 480 lumen light torch. The only disadvantage to this light is it doesn't have it's not rechargeable, where there's no outlet or adapter that can plug in and recharge the battery. It takes D batteries, but the great thing about D batteries is they last forever. So this light is awesome. And a lot of times when I'm backlighting, I kind of like the bluish hue for kind of like a rim light. So that's just kind of my style and what I like. So a lot of times I don't even usually throw a gel on something like this. So it's nice to always have your gels with you so you can always mix and match and kind of get the aesthetic and the look you're going for. Here's a Joby Light. This is a really good kind of like a bike light. It puts out a great beam, but let me shine it at the camera and you'll see what happens. You kind of see that wavy pattern that's being produced. Now I don't really know why it does this. I'm sure it has to do with some sort of spectrum of light that it's producing, but the sensor really doesn't like it, and it produces these artifacts. Pull up one of my other favorite lights, my headlamp. This is a Coast headlamp, and it's a really expensive one, like $50. But if you notice, it doesn't produce that artifact. So very important is that you check to see that it's not going to do this to your camera sensor, and your camera's not going to pick up this strobing, streamy effect. So always check that before you purchase the light, or at least keep the receipt so you can return it. I also have this little magnifying extender that I put on my flashlights. I pretty much just found a magnifying glass. I took the end off and I just put it on this little snoot here. And it really helps out with making your beam narrow as possible. This is about as narrow as I can make it. You see that? Okay, so let me put our little magnifying extender on here. As you can see, that makes a really precise, narrow beam that's good for backlighting small things, small items. Flashlight 3-point lighting kit. I got my main stand here. I got gels just in case you need them. We have our clamp, our super clamp with ball head and another 3/8 to 1/4 stud. Our backlight, 480 lumen flashlight, a snoot, little koozie snoot, nano clamp with ball head. We have our 2 Cobalt flashlights. We have another super clamp with ball head mount, magnifying add-on that will make the beam extremely narrow and tight, and a couple smaller stands. You can probably fit this all in a small bag that probably weighs 10 pounds.